I'm Casey Fatchett, and you're listening to the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. On this Nerdlit episode, we'll be discussing the business side of photography, the unsexy side, as well as bad wedding photographers in the news. All that after this short break. Hey photographers, is your workflow actually flowing? You should head over to nerdyphotographer.com and check out our workflow resources. I've got questionnaires for weddings, events, portrait sessions, getting to know your clients, as well as cheat sheets for things like keeping all of the information for your events in one place so that you don't have to search around for it when you get to that wedding or event. Head over to nerdyphotographer.com and check out our store and see all of the workflow resources we have available for you.
Hello, welcome to this episode of the Nerdy Photographer Podcast. This episode is titled, It's Photography Business Time. It's business time. Yes, I am referencing Flight of the Conchords, and if you don't like Flight of the Conchords, I'm sorry, I don't think that we can be friends. I think that might be a deal breaker for me. Now, photographers loathe talking about business. Yeah, doing the books, paying taxes, contracts, all of that stuff. We don't like talking about it. We don't like working on it. It's not the sexy part of the job. The sexy part of the job is going out on shoots and posting the photos. Look at this awesome picture that I took, and look at this great wedding that I photographed, and look, I shot this celebrity event. Those are the sexy parts. You want people to look at your photos. But that is such a small percentage of what you actually do. In fact, it's quite often the really boring part where you're crunching the numbers and doing the research that determines whether your business is going to have any longevity whatsoever. And I see these photographers like the joy of marketing for photographers. Like it's a joy. It's not. A lot of photographers would probably be better at marketing because they if they wanted to learn about it. But the truth is, it's quite often a slog. You spend hours and hours working out things like who is my ideal client, and where is my place in my market for what I do? What should my pricing be? All of those things come together to form your business. And if you want to make money at this, and if you're running your own business, you need to work on that stuff. Often, we just sit there and think, that's not me. I'm, quote unquote, a creative. I'm not a business person. I went to a college that has a very prestigious business school. And I will never forget that because my parents always say, why didn't you take some business classes from that very prestigious business department? Well, for me, the creative guy that I am, thought, well, maybe I will. And then I realized I had to take 4 different classes before I could get to the classes that I wanted to take, like marketing or, that sort of stuff. I had to take all of the core economics classes, and that stuff really didn't appeal to me. So what I ended up with degrees in theater and journalism. Super practical, and my parents will never let me forget it. But there's a reason that most small businesses go under in less than 3 years. It's because people don't think about the business side of things. And photographers often think that their business and getting new clients is just about taking great pictures. And if that's what everything was about, there would probably be very few of us in business. It would only be a very small percentage of people who'd get all of the work in each market. But you probably often see people who don't necessarily take amazing, like mind-blowing photos in your area, and you're kind of go like, why is this person booking so much? Why are they working all the time? And maybe I'm struggling to find clients, or I'm finding it difficult to get people to pay me what I think that I'm worth. And this guy's charging twice what I am, and his pictures aren't that great. Well, the reason is because they know several things. They know how to market. They know how to market themselves. They know how to reach those people who will spend that money, and they know how to sell. Now, most of the time, photographers probably think of sales, and they think of, it just feels uncomfortable. And I mean, even just saying it, I start to feel kind of itchy and gross. But sales doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to be pushy, but you have to be firm. And these are things that you need to learn about. And there's plenty of stuff on the Nerdy Photographer blog, and more stuff coming that's going to be about that. But I just want you to think more about the business side of things. We're always looking around looking at, what's this new gear that I can buy? Or, look at these great pictures as inspiration. But there's very little business inspiration for photographers out there other than people who are selling you some sort of program. But what is your marketing plan? How do you attract the right customers? What's your cash flow like? Where are you going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years? Have you mapped that out? Have you thought about that? Do you plan on being in this for the long term? Is it a short-term thing? If you want to plan to be around for 10, 15, 20 years, you need to sit down and work on a marketing plan and a business plan. You need to sit down and look at your cash flow. Where is my money coming from? Is it regular? Do I have big ups and downs at different parts of the year? Where are you advertising? What is your return on investment? And photographers, and I was talking to a friend about this, it is, again, it's the creative side of things. We don't think of, as we just sort of tend to flit away in our minds when we think about the business part of it. But the people who are very successful in the photography industry are also very successful business people. They're not always the most amazing, fantastic photographers. They're very good business people. They might also be very good at photography, but it's more likely that they're very good at business. If you're on any photography websites that have news in them, you've probably seen how a couple in Singapore hired a wedding photographer for $2,000 and got absolutely awful pictures. They took to social media to show their disappointment with the horrible wedding photos, and I have to say, there's a lot wrong with these pictures. Composition is bad. They're delivering images where people have their faces covered. All of these outdoor portraits are, way blown out. You can hardly see any detail in people's faces, let alone the dresses. Everything is just completely shot. And it says, the couple is saying that they spent 2 hours outside in the sun, and, they're totally clueless as to how the photos would turn out when it's happening, and when the photographer is yelling, "Oh, great, nice shot, next one, good, yes, great." And they end up looking pretty much like ghosts. And the company's chief photographer said the pictures are fine. Blamed the conditions and the wedding party and the couple, but it's not the photographer, because the person who took the photos is a quote-unquote top photographer who has already worked on over 10 weddings. Over 10 weddings makes you a top photographer. I am 50 top photographers in one body. This person who took these pictures lacks some pretty basic camera skills, like lighting, composition. If you're going to be a wedding photographer, understand that you are out there on somebody's very, 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 very important day. And there's not a lot of room for do-overs. And you also have to be paying attention to what you're doing if you want to do something over on the wedding day and know that you didn't get it. Work for somebody else. Second shoot. Get experience. Practice. This is a very, very, very stressful job. And when you screw up, and you screw up like this person did, nothing is going to save you from the tidal wave of bad energy you're going to get on the internet. Because word is going to get out. If you, trust me, there's no shortage of gone viral articles about people who charged a ton of money for wedding photography and did an absolutely crap job. I mean, there's an article from Gizmodo from like 6 years ago that I remember where all of the pictures were blurry, out of focus, horribly composed, and apparently the photographer said that they couldn't use flash because they were epileptic. Now, if you can't use flash, and if that's honestly the reason why you can't use flash, then you better be really, really, really good at shooting with natural available light. And this person wasn't, because they were obviously shooting at an aperture that was too high for the light conditions, and you got these long trails of like ghost people where they, you know, the shutter is just going for way too long. So again, keep in mind, if you want to do this, it's a very important day for these people. You need to know what you're doing. Second, don't charge. Don't start charging when you're doing this for yourself. Don't start charging what the average price range for photographers is when you start out and you haven't done a wedding on your own before, or even the first 10 weddings that you do, whatever, 5 weddings that you do. You can raise your prices as you start to gain experience until you get to a point where you are on par with people who know what they're doing. If you're starting out, charge a few $100 to begin with. Raise it a little bit each time until you know what you're doing, because you're going to kill your business if you take pictures like this guy did.
And now for my favorite part of the show. What's that say? Useless information. This is always death.
And here's your dose of useless information for the episode. Did you know that a con man once sold the metal in the Eiffel Tower to metal scrappers not once, but twice? Twice! Music for this episode by The Hip Shakes. Thank you for listening to the Nerdy Photographer podcast. You can support the Nerdy Photographer on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdyphotographer. The more you subscribe for your monthly contribution, the more you're going to get. Discounts on products, subscriber-only content, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/nerdyphotographer. On the Instagrams and the Twitters, we are at the Nerdy Photo. Thank you very much for listening, and be sure to subscribe, leave comments. Until next time, talk nerdy to me.
Who's coming back to town? You better start listening. Who's your heart been beating about? You better listen.